Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so pretty ugly day today across the board. Almost everything was red. Pretty much everything was selling except for Meta. Mr. Meta was holding up quite nicely today. We're going to cover that after we go over the indices. We're going to go over SPY QQ VIX, then we're going to jump into the Mag 7 stocks, talk about the day, and then I have a few trade ideas just for you at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. All right, so starting off here with QQ, guys, we do have this big fat bearish engulfing candlestick, heavy volume. I do think we're probably going to be having a larger correction here. VIX today had a close over the daily 21 EMA, so it sold off yesterday, but it did come down, had a low of 1474. So exactly right here at this low, you did not make a new low, and they shoved you right back up and had the daily close above the 21 EMA here. That is telling us that we have a change of character. We're probably going to see VIX continue getting a bounce here. I am not sure if it's gonna, go something like this where we print a, upper wick tomorrow and then we continue going next week. But I do think VIX is probably going to get a larger spike going here over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So that is something that we should all have on our radars. I am just going to say, QQ, SPY, do not be surprised to see them at least their daily 21 EMAs. I'd say that is the safe target here. But, that being said, I think it also can take some time. We do have a pretty ugly weekly candlestick here on QQQ. All right. That is looking along the lines of a top. We did talk about this week, pump and dump. Does anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? That being the exact theme this week, pump and dump? Maybe pump early on the week and dump off of something by end of the week. Bingo. Bingo was his name-o. It's this. That's what's going on right now. They had you in the first half of the overnight pump there, but they gave back the whole thing. Okay, so we mentioned yesterday's video. Ideally, they would not bring you down to fill 570.62, that gap. They would just hold you at 572. And although we were finding buyers there at 572.11 this morning, we did end up failing that. And then, we came down. But, we broke pre-market low this morning. Cloud, 15-minute cloud here, flipped bearish. And, we stayed oversold all day. And this is why I do think we are likely going to get an overnight bounce here. I know it is looking pretty ugly right now, but I imagine this quadruple 15-minute bullish divergence over here is going to play out, and that is probably going to bring us a bounce overnight or tomorrow morning. So that is what I'm thinking. 4-hour chart is pretty rough, but we can come over here to the hourly time frame, and we can see the RSI is now in oversold territory and is starting to curl up there. And at the same time, we do have that quadruple bullish diverge going on in the 15-minute RSI. So I have to assume we are probably going to be getting maybe a gap up tomorrow. And we don't really do all that much tomorrow. I think we're probably going to print an inside day. I don't think they're going to make it all that easy here on people. But at the same time, it can happen. Apple and Amazon, neither of them saved the day. Amazon is down quite bad right now. But I'm going to tell you, I think this dip is going to be bought off the open. Or they don't open you down here. That's honestly, I think they're not going to open you down here. I think they give you a bounce in pre-market tomorrow. It just makes sense. Look at the monthly. Just look at where this monthly opening is going to be, because today was the last day of the month. So we just closed the last monthly candle. We're going to be opening up a new one next month. And guys, you could just look on, these charts. You're really not going to see Amazon just have something happen like that. It just has not happened. You had this gap down going on over here. It did end up getting bought. All right. But this was, right over here. It had an 8% decline, about 9% from the high there. We are 7%. That means we'd come down a little further tomorrow and then get bought up later on. But yeah, we don't really have this crazy gap down happening. Like, that just looks really funky. I'm just saying, we are going to be opening up. Oh, my bad. We are going to be opening up a monthly bar right here at the bottom of the last monthly bar or below it. Either that thing is going to get bought up and we just have this, back-to-back green bar monthly 2-month range building out here, or they're going to sell it down here a little bit more, and we're going to print a lower monthly wick, and by the end of the month we get bought up. It's going to be something probably like that. That's what I'm thinking. SMCI starting to break down there, so that is that. And you know, Oracle, guys, I'm glad to see that people were making money off of Oracle today. I just hope people ended up taking profits. 260 to 262 was the target. There you go.
That was easy.
Was the easiest there. We got 120% earlier on weeklies, and then next Friday's expiration we pulled out you know, 65-75% there. But yeah, you went straight to target. It was the easiest trade coming into the day. I'm glad to hear so many people were making money off of it. Again, if you guys want to come trade with me, that link is down below. You can take 50% off, whether that be a lifetime membership or just that monthly membership. That link is going to be down below, but I am live every day. And yeah, you know, guys, there's always something moving in the market. There's always some movement to be played. And it's our job as traders to identify that movement. And, you know, I try and take out the heavy lifting from you guys. And yeah, you know, I'm always going to be covering what is going to be moving, and we're going to be focusing on what is moving. And Oracle was that one today. But yeah, back over here to the market, guys. Let's go over the levels here on QQQ. Like we know, VIX ended up getting the daily close above 21 EMA, so we are probably going to be continuing this spike. Doesn't mean it has to happen right away tomorrow. We could very easily, you know, gap up over here. We can even test the golden pocket here and get as high as 570 up here, and we still can fade from there, you know, into next week. So, you know, at this point, they've killed the weekly candlestick. We can print, you know, a you know, just a doji with a large upper tail there. If we do end up, you know, closing out the week 568, 570, but at the same time, they can also just they could open you down here, do something like that, and then they give us a bounce up here, and then we close out the week like that, and then we're probably just going to open up next week in this consolidation. Or they gap you up, we open up right around here, and then they probably are going to sell you, or you print a doji candlestick just like that, and we close out the week with this ugly hot mess going on right there. And we are probably going to be seeing, you know, a short-term top get put in before that larger correction. You know, coming into this week, you guys knew the theme. It was pump and dump. I think it is pretty safe to say we got a pump and dump going on. You know, I know we do have a video every day, and things are changing every day. But we do have to keep in mind what we discussed ahead of time. And what we discussed ahead of time was we're probably going higher in the short term. And later on into the week, maybe off of these earnings or FOMC, we are going to be taking a dump. And that did end up happening today. But yeah, so that's what we got, guys. As far as levels go, we have today's low at 563.87. Underneath there, we have 560.80, 557.20. We ideally are going to hold 560.80. If we come down here, you want to see buyers defending around there, and you want to come back up. And if we can close, you know, out Friday here with a little hammer candlestick, something like that, we're probably going to continue that dead cat bounce into next week before going lower. And we would probably have this nice little roll action going on like that. But yeah, if we test the 21 EMA here, expect buyers there. That's going to be right around 560.80. If 560.80 does not hold, we're going to be watching 557.20 and 551.56. On the upside, we are going to have 566.06, 568.17, and 570.62, which was the gap today that filled, and you just gapped and crapped today through it. But that's going to be right around that 0.618 fib from the you know, whole intraday session here, top to bottom. So that is QQQ. SPY, we have a very similar picture, guys. We're right here at our key level, 631.54. Now, we did talk about it. You know, if you did not hold right there at the gap at 637.68, then the next spot really was going to be down here at 634. And if you don't hold 634, or if you even just come back down to 634, you're probably going straight back down to 631.54. That is where we came back down to. We now have a big fat bearish engulfing candlesticks on the daily time frame here. Heavy volume, increasing volume up here, guys. We talked about the distribution over the past few videos here, and that is what we still have, guys. We are still just gapping up into, you know, new highs here. and somehow getting new overhead supply every single time. It is just the big boys trying to exit at the best possible price. They're pumping it overnight and they are selling it intraday. That has been the theme. And so far, every little dip has been bought. But the fact that we have, this bearish engulfing candlestick right here, right there from the other day, the fact that that did not end up playing out here and we popped up to new highs. And now today we have this big old mess here. Yeah, I think it's likely that we actually are going to be selling a bit more here, having a larger correction. But, people are going to start, all the doom and gloomers are going to come out, guys. They're going to say, this is going to be lasting months. Guys, this is probably going to be lasting a few weeks. And if you do see these prices down here, they're probably not going to last too long. 1 to 2 weeks. This is what we were talking about ahead of time. Don't you forget it. And that is now just taking place. Okay. Into the end of week, pump and dump. That is what we have going on here. We did have some stocks that were doing some crazy things. We had HIMS earlier on the week that did actually continue going today. Congrats if anybody was holding into today. You did end up getting 70 plus, but now it has printed something like that. A little topping tail right there, and it reminds me of what happened over here. This was on Thursday, and then you gapped down and ended the week out like that. And the following week, you did end up hitting it with the gap up. You started with a 12% day there. So I think HIMS might actually be performing very similar to that, but we do have earnings Monday after the close. So that's going to be a bit of a monkey wrench into the mix. But I do think HIMS is set up to have a really big move over here. You had some really big moves this week, guys. And now I do think things are going to be cooling off a bit. But, I don't know if we're going to just straight up sell like I was saying, guys. I think we're probably going to consolidate tomorrow. That is the most likely scenario on my end. We're going to go over the Mag 7 stocks and the scenarios we're seeing for them. But that is really what we have right now. Downside underneath 631.54, we have 626.28, and then you want to be holding that. That's where the daily 21 EMA is. Expect buyers down there if tested. But again, more likely than not, I think we are going to get that little gap up or a push in the morning, and I think we at least are going to test 634. So on the upside, we have 634, and then 636.40, and then 637.68. You get back up to 638, you're going up to 640. That would be that. But we are very likely going to at least test this daily 21 EMA, whether that happens tomorrow or early next week. Not really sure. But that would be that. Underneath 631.54, 626.28, right around that daily 21. That's the key level. But like I was saying on QQQ, guys, 1 hour RSI starting to hinge up off oversold territory. That is how SPY is looking as well over here. You see on the 15-minute RSI, you also have this triple bullish divergence going on down here. Guys, if you are not new to the channel, then these things are typically going to play out. Whether it just end up bringing you here or it brings you all the way back up here, you typically do end up seeing these things give you quite a bit of a bounce there. So we're going to see what happens. This is exactly what I'm saying. You spent the whole day selling down here, and then boom, the next day. Yeah, you did end up going lower here, but you held the divergence that was put in the previous day there. And yeah, it ended up triggering a full-on reversal. Now, do I think that's going to be the case? No, I do not think that's going to be the case. I think we're probably going to have a larger sell, at least down to the daily 21. But definitely something to take note of, and that is that. IWM, it honestly held up decently well. Not, picture perfect here. It was, making new lows today, but it didn't fall completely off the cliff yet, but it did get underneath the daily 21 EMA. That is a change of character, guys. We have not had a daily close underneath the 21 EMA all the way since, holy sweet baby Jesus, since April 23rd. So, you lost it here. There's that. So expect IWM to continue coming down. Now we know why all the puts were being loaded over here. It is the weakest of the bunch right now. It is falling. The sky is falling over here in IWM underneath 218.41. We're talking 215.93 and then 211.95. I do think 215.93 is going to be tested in the short term. Maybe not Friday, but I would say we're probably going to get decently down there and probably down to 212, 213 next week. It's looking like we can have a larger sell here, and once you're underneath the daily 21 EMA, that's when you're going to have your moves to the downside. And I do think we are probably going to be sliding a bit lower here, maybe for as much as 5 to 10 points to the downside. Okay, that is IWM. DIA, guys, did also get underneath the daily 21 EMA today. we'll see what happens here. But you have 438.70 to the downside, and then underneath there, 433.20. All right, so that is the indices, guys. Coming over here, Meta. All right, Meta, guys, congrats if anybody did end up taking some Meta or Microsoft Lotto calls and you got out around the open. Regardless, Meta did end up holding up. Now that we are at new highs, guys, this is not a bearish looking chart. Whether it pulls back or not is irrelevant. We're going to keep going higher. This is it's looking pretty nice. Now, like I was saying yesterday, Meta and Microsoft, you know, they were just uber bullish about AI on the earnings call. It was pretty much all about AI and what they're going to be doing around it and how much they're going to be, you know, invested into the stuff. And, you know, this chart, pair that up with this chart. And I'm just saying, this thing is probably going to be going a lot higher, guys. It really is. Increasing volume on the week, and you're holding it like this. You know, Microsoft over here has a pretty nasty topping tail going on. We'll see if you sell a bit more tomorrow. But Meta is just completely holding up. And, you know, we can see last time you ended up having earnings that brought you up to new all-time highs. You had that going on. You gapped down to start the week off next week. And then, boom, you saw that get bought up. And you had quite a move by end of week. That was a 50-point move. I think that might be similar next week. So we're going to keep Meta on our radar here. We just had a solid monthly close. And we are anticipating higher prices next month and also next week. That is Meta over here. Coming over here to Microsoft, guys. I personally wouldn't be touching this thing. Yes, it can cool off quite a bit. I would say this is a little bit different than last time, considering, you know, this guy over here did not sell nearly as much as what you're doing right now. But at the same time, it has been higher for longer, has been the theme over here for quite some time. And until that really changes, you break underneath the daily 21 over here, which means you have to get back the whole entire move that just happened, by the way. You have to give back the whole thing for that to be the case. And then you start expecting a larger sell to come. But until that happens, you know, this thing is probably just going to have demand sitting here, and we're just going to build something out and then go higher, or maybe you build something out before going lower, but you're probably not going to just go straight through this area. So Microsoft, don't touch it. All right. Don't have a bias on it right now. It's probably just going to consolidate or continue selling. Amazon over here. Like I was saying earlier, this kind of just doesn't make sense to me. I have a feeling they're going to buy it off the open tomorrow, or they're going to bid it up here and open it maybe 227, 228, 225 to 228, I'm going to say, because opening it here for the month just looks really funky. I'm going to be completely honest, and it makes me think they're just going to bid it up at least a good amount there. Okay, so you know that's Amazon. It's looking pretty frisky there, pretty crazy. It's falling back into the weekly 21 EMA here on the downside. You have 214.84. We can actually see you almost tested there in after hours here. 4-hour RSI is oversold, and then yeah, weekly 21 EMA is right underneath for 214.84. So honestly, yeah, I do think you're probably going to get buyers stepping in around, even if it's just going to be something like this where you end up getting that bounce, you know. But the next week after you test that was a 10-point bounce off the lows. Imagine if we come down here and get a 10-point bounce, it's bringing you all the way back up 225, 226. Not too shabby if you ask me. It's going to, you know, make this weekly chart look a bit better by getting a bounce there. But yeah, it's going to look real funky here. This weekly candle is going to be coming all the way down here. It's going to be pretty ugly. It's going to look like one of these guys. So get ready for it. And if we sell through this area, then a larger sell incoming. Maybe we are coming down back to $200. There's that. But yeah, monthly chart, it's going to look real funky tomorrow, guys. Something that just, if you look back on the chart, you know, throughout its history, you just aren't going to see something like this. Unless, you know, maybe it's there. But since its inception, no, you just don't see something like this. Like this is just a really funky look to it. So I do think the dip is going to be bought. I think it's going to be short-lived over here, and I personally love Amazon. So that's just me. I'm seeing it as a buy the dip opportunity, but I am also realistic about it, and you kind of got to see if it's going to get bought up here. Regardless, you know, long term, I'm going to be completely honest. It's clear as day. This is going to be bought back up to highs. It can take some time, but yeah, you know, this does want to get back up to highs, and I think it's probably going to only take a few months to do so. I really do think, you know, we're just having this correction. You're going to see all the perm bears coming out saying, you know, S&P 500, NASDAQ, the market has hit its highs for the year. All right, now we're going through this multi-month correction. I think it's just going to be something that lasts a few weeks. It gets bought up. Let's be real about it. Amazon, Google, you know, Tesla, Apple, Nvidia. So Nvidia is at highs, Meta's at highs, Microsoft is highs, Amazon, Apple, Google, Tesla. None of those are at highs. Okay, so we're probably eventually going to see these guys lead the way, and we're going to have another leg higher on the market, and that just hasn't happened yet. Okay, so I'm not a permanent bear. I do think that thing is going to get bought up. All of these things are going to get bought up to all-time highs. And, if it wants to go a little like that, it will. But, this is just going to be a break and retest off where you broke out of 182.45. So that's how GOOG is looking to me. Maybe we do come down a little bit further in the short term here. But, this very well could just go something like this. All right, that we get the bounce off the daily 21 EMA here around 188, bounce back to 192.61, reject there, come down to 182.45, and boom, that's all she wrote. That was just a break and retest, 182.45, and then we go higher. It very well could end up going down like this. We don't know. It could go something exactly just like that. The spike, it wasn't off of earnings over there. Okay, that we had earnings spike right over there, earnings spike right over here. We would pull back. Pull back. Where do we pull back to? Right where we broke out from. That means we might undercut that, pull back a little bit further, 178, 180, and then we end up pushing up over there. Okay, guys. So, we have things on the horizon, and people are going to get, ultra bearish here. I promise. I guarantee. I was telling the Discord today, it's just how that's going to go. But in reality, your boy over here has been calling for the correction before the darn correction started. Okay, I called how VIX was going to be going. People were getting too bearish, too quick over here. And I was pointing out that, boom, it looked like VIX was going to be taking out these lows. And it looked like we were probably going to be taking out these lows, but it was going to be short-lived. We were going to be looking for the bounce over there because either the 4-hour RSI being oversold or the 4-hour RSI building out the 4-hour bullish divergences are going to be giving us our bottom over here, short-term bottom, our bounce on VIX. So we called that ahead of time. It started, and, people are just going to get extremely bearish, but I'm just reminding everyone how this is probably going to go down. It's probably only going to last a few weeks. It's probably something that will get bought right back up to all-time highs once the dust is settled off of, some bullish catalyst. I'm not really sure, but this is a bull trend, and until things change, nothing has changed. Expect this to go down. Okay, nothing bearish about it. Okay, but in the short term, yes. Okay, and I have a few trade ideas here for you guys to trade if you really choose to. Okay, but Meta, bullish. Okay, probably going to be continuing to go higher. Microsoft, don't touch. Amazon, I think the dip will be bought long term. I think it's good to buy. But it may take a little for the dust to settle over here, and we may revisit 214.84 intraday tomorrow. I'm not really sure, but I think it's something that will hold, will be bought, and I'll be a buyer down there. Okay, so that's Amazon. Apple over here, guys. Boom. Okay, we didn't really get any sort of anything going on over here on Apple, but at the same time, I do think this makes sense that we are probably going to be getting a bullish move going on tomorrow. This thing is getting bought up. It already did test 216.23 in after hours. It did sell off from there. Okay, but it is holding up quite well here, and it is probably time for this thing to make a bullish move. It would look really off to see this thing come down here, and we have this monthly candle right here. Imagine how clean it would look to get the gap up into the highs over here. Boom, take out that last monthly high, 216.23. And boom, bop, bingo, pow, we're all of a sudden, first week of next month, we're 225, 230. It would look pretty sick. But yeah, I do think it's time over here for Apple to finally start making a move. And, if it just gaps up to where it is right now, tomorrow, you're going to have this nice lower wick going on over here. And I do think this weekly cloud by next week is going to flip it to bullish. And then we have a few weeks of upside. So that's how I'm seeing Apple. But I do think the move up to 220, 225, it can come as early as tomorrow. So, keep it on the radar. Amazon shit the bed over there, but I'm thinking Amazon's probably going to be bought in the short term there. It's probably at least going to get a nice 3 to 5 point bounce tomorrow. I'm going to be looking to play it. Again, if you want to come trade with me, I'm live every single day. And now that it is earnings season, all of the main earnings, we will be live streaming those earnings, and we'll be listening to those calls. But that is that. Coming over here to Google, guys, I think it's probably going to go something just like how we laid out here. But yeah, we can come down to the daily 21 EMA in the short term. On the upside, you have 192.61. And if you do want to get back up to the highs, you have 198.16, 202.88, 208.70. But I think with how the market is set up right now, it's going to take a little while. We consolidate for a little, get a little sell, capitulation happens. And then, yeah, we're going to try and scoop things up around here for a discount before that move takes place over there. But I do think it's probably going to be end of next week or early the week after. Okay. So that's how I'm seeing it. It's not a time to be risking too much, guys. It's time to be in and out. It's time to use smaller size, maybe shorter dated contracts, just trying to, get your money and get out of the market. But right now, as far as long swings go, I have some setups that I think are going to be moving no matter what. But I do also have some bearish setups at the end of the video for us. And it is time that the market is probably going to be rolling over a little bit here. And again, not time to become a perm bear here. It's not time to think we're gonna, we just topped forever, guys. It is literally time for all of these crazy breakout moves that just happened. They're gonna all hit it with the break and retest, and 1 to 2 weeks later, yeah, we're gonna have a big fat juicy dip to buy. And I want everybody to be able to take advantage of these things instead of losing their butts on the things and stressing about it. And then you have a bad time in the market. You don't want to, you don't want that. Okay, you want to have a good time. And it's time to take it easy right now. Like I was saying, size down. Okay, maybe the shorter dated options if you are doing so, instead of just trying to long for these major reversals, maybe just try and get these dead cat bounces when they present themselves for those quick 30 to 50% moves. But regardless, I do have some setups at the end of the video that I think are going to be moving bullishly no matter what. So I got you. All right, but Nvidia over here, guys, I think it's time. It might start really fading here. Weekly candle, it might flip red tomorrow underneath 174.25. That is where you broke out from. That is when I think a decent fade can come down here to 170.83. All right, so that's a nice 4-point move that might take place tomorrow. I'm really not sure, but you have been building out this bearish divergence here over here. You do have this big fat nasty red candle going on. And I do think we're probably going to hit it with the 1-2 and get decently lower tomorrow. We did have a 7-point move today. Who's to say we don't have another 6 to 7-point move tomorrow and get down to 170? Okay, so expect this bounce that happens. Expect it to be sold. But I'm not sure if it happens tomorrow. I think we're probably going to come decently lower tomorrow down to 170.83, which is around that daily 21. So expect the dip to be bought, but I do think it's possible that we see it. You really just have to lose 174.25 for this to be the case, okay? So that's where you're going to be looking over here on Nvidia. But like I was saying, everything's really oversold over here. We spent the whole day on everything in oversold territory. So I do think a bounce is likely to start off the day. I really do on most of these names, most of these names. I really do think that. And like I was saying, Amazon, I still think it might get an overnight bounce. Like the market might actually gap up and then we end up fading it intraday or just going back and forth and doing nothing intraday. Either way, we'll see how things set up tomorrow morning. We'll update things. Okay. And by the way, guys, if you're not already, go be following the Twitter. The link is also down below. You come trade with me down below, but the link for the Twitter is down below. And, at least this month, I'm going to be trying out, all the most important tickers in these videos we're covering. Those will be posted every single night to Twitter over there, so you can go see the updates there. But the trade ideas we talk about in these videos all also be posted on Twitter. And I personally would appreciate the support over there either way. But I promise there is also a ton more value over there as well if you are enjoying these videos. Okay, that link is down below. Okay, but yeah, that is the Mag 7 stocks over here. We didn't cover Tesla, but Tesla over here, guys, underneath 300, guys. If it cracks $300, it's probably coming sub 270. Just thought I'd tell you guys ahead of time. It is coiled up. It is getting ready for a move. I'm not sure if it's going to be up or down, but with how things are going right now, I think it just might be down. Okay, so if you get underneath $300, probably going to be going timber. We have 288.77 under there and then 273.20, and then yeah, we're coming lower. Okay, that is Tesla. And then on the upside, it also could break up. We don't know, but you now have to break above 324.45 to really start turning up here and breaking that upper trend line. So that is Tesla. So those are the Mag 7 stocks, guys. And before I go over my trade ideas for you guys, I am just going to point out that I noticed today, INTC, guys, it's looking a bit heavy here. It's looking a bit bear flaggy. It's looking like this thing is a massive head and shoulders here on the weekly time frame that has taken just about a year to build out, and maybe it's going to start breaking down soon. We did just have earnings, and we gapped down quite a bit over here, just about 10%. But we're making our way down to these lows again, and I am wondering if we're just going to kind of just creep lower here over time. So it's something to watch. I'm not telling anybody short these lows. You know, there's much better opportunities out there in the market, honestly, in my personal opinion. But it is something to pay attention over here. I think this thing might be setting up to have another leg lower off of a catalyst. I'm not sure what it is going to be, but I think it's setting up. All right, so that is INTC. But as far as going into tomorrow, guys, CrowdStrike. All right, now notice on the weekly time frame, we're pulling into the weekly 21 EMA. We're probably going to find buyers there, but it's not, you know, guaranteed. The daily chart, it suggests we're probably going to be breaking down here underneath 455.59. We can open up for like 458, 460, and then if we fade underneath today's low, get underneath 455.59, we're probably going to be headed down to 445 up to 445 to 450 tomorrow intraday. So this is something in the short term. We got a little head and shoulders action going on here, just like that, and it does look like it's beginning to roll over. You got the daily 21 EMA rejections here. It's getting really tight, going on this range here for you know, about 3 weeks. Looks like it's about to break down, and we could get a decent, you know, 10 to 20 point move under here. It looks like underneath 445.26, you're gonna have 430. So underneath 455.59, targets are 445.26, and then 430. I wouldn't be surprised to, you know, get down there next week, open up right around here, come down. All right, and then intra-week reversal there, you get a, you know, weekly hammer candlestick on the week or something like that, and then you start pushing back up. But in the short term, it definitely looks like it can break down. So that is crowd if things are going to continue, you know, go in this bearish direction here tomorrow. And ideally, you want to see a gap up here, and then you want to lose this low, and that's when you can really have the fade going on there, okay? So that is crowd. Now, as far as bullish things go, guys, SMR. You got a bit of a flat top setup going on here. You just got a range going on. I know, you know, it rejected here today, and it's pulling back. But at the end of the day, this is something we know is very likely over the next 1 to 2 weeks. Whether it happens next week before or off of earnings or not is irrelevant. We know in the short term, this is very likely going to be breaking up from this range instead of breaking down. Okay, so if it breaks underneath 47.61, you know, I don't know what to tell you. It's just not working out. But, you know, until that happens, we are going to expect this to break up. You know, honestly, even if it takes out 47.61, as long as it just holds, like, don't get a daily close underneath this daily 21 EMA around 45.50. As long as we hold that daily 21 EMA, I think it's going to be just like over here when you had the same exact thing going on, and then boom, the following week, you end up hitting it with a massive move down here from the low end of the range. That's a, you know, 30 to 40% move there. If we can catch it down here, that's a massive ripper, okay? But yeah, we do have earnings next week, next Thursday, I think it is. Yeah, next Thursday, before the bell, after the bell. It does look like it's setting up for a big move, and we can see it here on the weekly time frame. This weekly candle, it really didn't go anywhere. I doubt we're going to have this massive move and just boom, hit it with a bunch more consolidation for another few weeks. Instead, if we consolidate this week, it's probably going to be like these guys over here, where the following weeks you did have you know, a decent move to the upside there, 20% move, consolidation there, boom, another 20 to 30% move. So I do think big moves are probably coming either tomorrow if this thing breaks above 53.39. If it does break above 53.39, I think it's going to head to 55.56 tomorrow, have a solid weekly close here, and go a lot higher next week, 65, 70 bucks, maybe even. So that is SMR. And then on top of that, we have the same theme going on over here on Oklo. It's going to be moving with it, but you got this tight consolidation going on. Yes, he swept the high, but imagine this thing gaps up tomorrow around 77, 78 bucks, pushes through 80.42, and then all of a sudden it's going to 85, 86 bucks. You know, real talk, that is something that can happen. This still is going to be treated as bullish consolidation until proven otherwise. I don't think it's going to come back down to the bottom of the range. It is possible, but I do not think it's going to be the case. And even if it is the case, I'm going to keep it on my radar because I do think it's probably in the same boat as SMR, where we are going to be, you know, just sweeping the low of the range. And as long as we hold the daily 21 EMA, this is completely intact. And we're going to probably begin this big move. I'm talking maybe 90 to 100 next week on Oklo. You can be playing next Friday's expiration here on Oklo. And you're not going to be paying for the juiced up earnings premiums. We're in SMR. If you want to play next Friday's expiration or the 8/15 expiration there, you do have to pay the juiced premium. So Oklo is going to be a focus for myself over here. But there's that. That is Oklo. VST, I think no matter what, this is probably going to be getting bought. I gave this one to you guys the other day. I've actually been putting it on your radar in a bunch of these videos while we're down this range. It was just an easy dip buy over here. It looked clear as day like it was going to be making new highs, because if you just look back, you know, when do we stall out at the previous highs? Maybe you took some time, 2 weeks here getting through it, but you know, that's exactly what we got over here. And then eventually you push through it and you get this big impulsive move. All right, 30 points of upside there. You know, we only went 12. All right, that brings you up to 230. So I do think VST, guys, it has further upside. Maybe it continues pushing tomorrow. But more likely it's going to pull back here. And if we get the chance to buy 200, I think that is a buying opportunity. I think, you know, it's probably going to just print a lower wick on the daily candle and maybe even get bought up, you know, to 205, 207 if you get down there. Regardless, dips are buying opportunities over there. I hope you guys are making some money on these trades, guys, to give you, you know, a good amount of ideas at the end of each video that are going to be moving in the short term. And it is our job as traders to identify where the movement in the market is. And I do try and, you know, make it, you know, just easier for you guys, okay? And again, if you want to, you know, just get all the information in real time, everything, you want to come trade with me, that link is down below. But I really do hope you guys are, you know, taking advantage of some of these. Some of these guys, they're making some great moves on a weekly basis. And yeah, you know, this is what's moving in the stock market right now. I do my best to give you pretty much everything there. But VST, dips are buying opportunities, big move, 220, 230 income and earnings next week. Not sure if, I personally don't think earnings is going to give it all that big of a move, but if it does give it a gap up, expect that move to continue for a little bit, for another 5 to 10 points once it gaps up. That's VST. PLTR over here. I've been trading PLTR for a long time now, since it was all the way down here. This YouTube channel actually was a Palantirian channel. We were all just, you know, Palantirians. We all had all of our money in Palantir. And once upon a time, I did have $200,000 sitting in Palantir all the way right over here, okay? And then it fell into the abyss, and then boom, you know, had your boy held everything. Yeah, okay, it would have turned into a lot of money. Regardless, I have been trading Palantir for a long time, and I'm telling you, I don't think this doesn't look like a Palantir top to me. It looks like we got that flat top range setup going on here, and it looks like you want to break up above 160 and push 165 to me. So I think there is the possibility that happens tomorrow or Monday. You have earnings after the close on Monday. You just had a solid monthly close here. And yeah, I think they might pump it off of earnings. Regardless, if it creates a dip, it's going to be a buying opportunity, and we will talk about it when that presents itself. It's probably going to be something just like this. Gets bought up pretty quick, all right? So we'll keep it on the radar, but I think it might push into earnings with how it's set up. You got a break and retest off 155.68, all right, consolidating for a whole week now above that level there. And, you know, you just had consolidation. It's a break and retest after you had a break and retest going on here. Yeah, I think it is going a little bit higher there. Okay, so that's PLTR. Uber over here, guys, you are in this parallel descending channel. Underneath 86.36, this thing really can start sliding all the way down to... right here, you have the gap fill at 85.25, but underneath there, you have nothing until 81.86, just about. That's the bottom of this range you got going on here. That's a previous all-time high level right over there. And yeah, you know, we know there are probably going to be buyers down there, considering the demand we saw throughout all these few weeks here, these 2 to 3 weeks there. But yeah, if you can get through a 90, 89, 88 up here, you're going to be breaking out from this parallel channel, or at least testing the upper trend line. If we break that upper trend line, probably going 93.6 and then 97.72, and then at that point you're going to 100, 105, 100 to 105. I would guess is going to be incoming after that. All right, guys, but that is what I have for you guys in today's video. I hope everybody had a lovely day today. And yeah, all I ask is that you guys leave a like on these videos. I really would appreciate it. And yeah, I hope everybody kills it tomorrow. I hope you guys are killing this market. Please, guys, take it easy in this market. I do think we're going to have some short-term volatility here. We're going to have a lot of back and forth. I think it's most likely that we do get that consolidation tomorrow. Maybe we do get that, slight gap up there and then just decide to start, going back and forth. I just do think it's more likely than not at this point. So that is what I am personally going to be expecting there. Regardless, it is definitely a time to be using less size and just wait. I'm telling you, there's going to be a bunch of perma pairs coming out over the coming weeks. Please don't turn into one of those guys, okay? If we start seeing signs that a bottom is near, please do not have your head in the sand, just, going with the flow that's been happening. Please be aware we are in, a larger uptrend here. Weekly time frame is an aggressive uptrend. We just made new all-time highs. This pullback is going to be a big break and retest all previous highs. We have seen this story play out time and time again before, and it's probably going to go something like this, where you just retest highs. 1 week, you get it nice and over with. That's 3% to the downside. This over here, this was 4% to the downside. We'll retest previous all-time highs. This from peak to bottom is 4.5%. So yeah, it would go exactly like that, where we have 1 week of downside and then boom, it gets bought up the following week. And I think that's probably going to be the case over here. So I'm going to be tracking it for you guys every day here on the channel. All I ask is you guys leave a like on the video just so we could get out to more people. I really would appreciate it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Love y'all. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.